I'm very excited to be here. I woke up at 1:30 this morning, so I'm looking less excited than I'm actually feeling. One of the ways I think in which we lack imagination on the web is that we are surrounded with more data than God wants anybody to have. And yet we are pathetic in our ability to actually use it. And so one of the cool things that I have found that vastly accelerates the sophistication that we can deploy is this idea of embracing experimentation and learning to fail faster. And it is using data in ways that we didn't think before, and in many ways unleashing the kind of creativity and democracy in our companies that prior would be sort of unheard of. And so I believe that great companies on the internet learn to fail faster. And it is incredible what you can accomplish if you do that. One of the problems with the internet is that hippos decide make a lot more decisions than they're supposed to, and that is why if you look at web experiences on the web today, they are so horrible and sucky. Hippos are very disconnected from reality. And so you walk into a boardroom with a bunch of ideas, and the person who has the highest salary decides what happens. And so you walk into the genius idea about how to improve an experience or a campaign or an offer or something, and the hippo says, no, I don't think that will work. I want a dancing monkey. And because their salary is so many times yours, you put the monkey. And that is why the internet sucks today, right? And so I love to sort of encourage companies that in order to deal with this hippo problem, you have to figure out how to prove them wrong really, really fast. Because you actually cannot argue with the hippo. This is a big problem, right? You're going to argue with them. You have to say, great, we're going to put a monkey up, and we're going to see if it works or not, right? And that is an incredible way to be successful. So I want to show you an example that is very, very near and dear to my heart, and it's an idea of learning how to improve experiences on the web. This is an experience from the last Barack Obama campaign, and because the election is upon us in America already, I want to share this story with you, because if you look at this page, it will seem like God created it, because it is so good. Right? Compared to the suckiness that exists on the web, there are 2 boxes and a button here. Right? That's it. And it's not very hard to figure out what to do here, and yet the campaign thought that we could do better. We could do even better. And how could you improve upon perfection? And so we went around and asked everybody around the room in the campaign how to improve the 2 core elements of the page, the button itself that you saw at the very bottom left, and the main hero, the big image that you see. And we got these ideas. And rather than going with the agency or the hippo who would give us the monkey, we got a democratic sort of process and got a softer call to action, got some hard calls to action, got some image ideas, and then, of course, the agency always says video. And so fine, let's do video. And so let me show you the variations of the experiment and variations of the experiment. So notice the button now. So this is a multivariate test, which means you change 2 things at one time. But I'm going to show you them one at a time. So there's a default button. Here's the first iteration of it. Here's the second one. Here's a third one. I seriously doubt you actually noticed that it changed. Such a subtle change. Let me show you the iterations and changes on the main hero itself. This is the default. Here's the first version. Here's the second one. And this is how topical you can make some of these things. At the time or in the campaign, people said he has no idea what the hell he's doing, which was true. And so this is meant to evoke dictatorship. Like it's meant to evoke, like, I know what the hell I'm doing. Give me money, right? And I love it. Here's the first video.
It's been a long time since I wanted to hear what a politician had to say.
You came here because you believe in what this country can be.
And now give me money. I love it, right? I mean, it's so well timed with the purpose of the page and whatnot. Good video, right? So I'm going to skip one of them. And this is the last one, my personal favorite.
Now, even as we speak, there are those who are preparing to divide us. The spin masters, the negative ad peddlers, who embrace the politics of anything goes. Well, I say to them tonight, there is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America. There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America. The pundits like to slice and dice our country into red states and blue states. Red states for Republicans, blue states for Democrats. But I've got news for them too. We worship an awesome God in the blue states, and we don't like federal agents poking around in our libraries in the red states.
I've watched this video hundreds of times, and every time I just love it, right? And the first 50 times I watched it, I gave him $5 each time. And it's just so good. I mean, just so good. And so you know what happens when you experiment with things? What happens when you try things rather than guessing what's going to work? And I can ask you to pick the winners, and you would be wrong. So I won't ask you. It turns out that button works the best, and this image works the best in terms of outcomes. And this is the winning page. And you will notice it's actually not very different from the one we started with. It was blue. This one's white, and he's got the kids there. So how much can you improve upon perfection? And it turns out that the button all by itself improved conversion by 18%. This is the Google Website Optimizer, a free testing tool. And the family image by itself improved conversion by 13%. You will notice at the bottom, every video sucked beyond belief. In fact, my favorite video sucked the most. I literally cried for a few days. Because remember, I had given him a lot of money after watching that video. So I cried for multiple reasons. And if you put both of these things together, remember it was a multivariate experiment, the winning combination improved conversion by 40.6% on a page that was damn near perfect already. This is the power of experimentation, right? And if you can improve upon perfection, can you improve this? Right? This page actually, less than 10% of this is a tool from Google called the Google browser size. It's been cut off at the top. But you will notice that less than 20% of the people can see anything underneath this. This is what the tool does. It applies Google's data on top of your web page and tells you how many people can actually see what you're presenting. Less than 20% of the people can see anything under this Winehouse thing. This page is actually this long. You will not guess how many links are on it. Like, this is a crime against humanity. So if you can improve upon perfection, can you improve this? Right? Or consider this. This is also cut off at the top, a very big agency in the UK. And you come here and you're like, what the hell is this? Right? It serves no purpose. Right? Or this is gorgeous. Jesus, it's annoying me. I'll try and see if I can make this work. So this is a dating website, and it is targeted towards people who love Macintosh. And I just adore how beautiful and gorgeous it is. Damn it. Okay. It says on the top, Apple fanboy, whatnot. And when you come, notice there's a girl with a nice dragon tattoo, I suppose, and a computer on her bed. So friggin' Apple, right? And it's a dating site for people who love Apple. And notice there is hardly a sign-up form and other things. Now compare this to the largest one in the UK. eHarmony, there's a woman. I mean, she doesn't even look appealing. Sorry, that did not come out right. No, but anyway, I mean, I'm just... Anyway, and the top, there's something there, and there's a form. It says, it actually says you come, on this website here it says you come first, but the reality is they come first, because there's a stupid form, and all this garbage here. And the thing is, this agency should not be so clueless. They should say, there's version A of a page that is possible, there's version B. Let's see if we don't get into people's faces, if we can actually convert them more. In fact, you would be hard-pressed on this page to find where you should sign up. And it actually works a lot better. And think of the brand experience, right? There's a girl in the bed with a tattoo, with the computer. I would like to date her. Or there are many different ways to sell insurance. Here's version 1 with 4 steps. Here's version 2 with 6 steps. Here's version 3 with 5 steps. Which one works best? Why is everybody reinventing the wheel? Why don't we as an industry decide, here's the best way to create a gorgeous experience by experimenting with different versions of the pages, right? So experiment, experiment, experiment. And then the other thing is that you can also learn how to value creativity, especially as it applies to the web. For example, here's a standard page that you could get on any website. This is for an auto company. It's very standard, right? Box, 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 big box button. And somebody in this company came up and said, why don't we leverage a children's game in order to get a higher qualified lead from people who come to the website? And they came up with a version you will see now. I call it the Mad Libs version. It is as if you're talking to a 2-year-old, right? And he says, hello, my name is. Notice, this is a very expensive thing to try because a $21,000 car is in play. You fail at this, you could get fired. And it turns out that when you actually experiment with these two things, in fact, notice that in this version, in a very subtle, hidden way, they're saying, we don't care about your comments, you can shove them. Right? You want a $20,000 car, give us your email address, right? And they experimented with this, and it turns out that the Mad Libs version improves conversion by 25%. Over a 60-day period, it improved conversion by 40%. It is being rolled out across 300 websites in America. And you would never know that you could do this unless you decided that you're going to try crazy things. And that's the power of experimentation. And you can do even more things, like learn the cost of creativity. Here's one of the greatest brands in the UK, right? It's gorgeous, does great shows, love their pants and shirts and underwear and jackets. And it's just such an incredible experience otherwise, until you decide to go on their website. When you land on the website, all you see is this thing. If you wait enough time and get coffee, go to the bathroom, shower, cut off, you see the header. And then you see these two things. And by the time, now you're all ready to work, you've showered, you've kissed around, and then after a long time, this thing loads. Like, what the hell is this? And the amazing, incredible thing about this is there are 49 more pages of it. You don't see at the bottom, right here. 49 more pages, and every time you click on something, it says loading. It's not even intelligent enough to prefetch the page, so you don't have to do this stupid stuff. They would never treat anybody like this in the real world. And yet at the altar of branding, they decide to treat you like crap. And so now the next time some agency or a hippo comes to you and says, we should have a great branding experience, you should say, let's try it. Let's do version A, let's do version B, and let's figure out how much our brand is being destroyed by what we're doing, and let's go and figure out what works, because for every 1% decrease, 1% decrease in the speed load time, the revenue decreases by 1% for every 0.1 second decrease in the loading time of the page. This is very, very important stuff. And by creating a great branded experience, you're essentially destroying the brand and the loyalty to the brand and the desire for people to buy anything. So experiment, right? Never ever sacrifice functionality at the altar of sexiness. Never, 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 right? And remember, this is one of my favorite quotes. And the other thing is to optimize the portfolio that you have. It is very hard for us. Oh, thank God, you can see part of this thing. One of the hardest things for CEOs to decide is where to put all of their money, right? Because there are more and more channels coming online every single day. It's very hard to figure out where we should put money. And so if somebody from Google comes to you tomorrow and says, you should open a YouTube brand channel, well, you're already doing 92 things. How do you figure out what the hell is the value that the YouTube brand channel can work? And so I want to share with you this very simple example that helps you understand how to compute incrementality. And so I've simplified it grossly. This company did many different things, but I'm going to simplify and say they just do two things. They do catalog and email. That's it, right? Online and offline. And the numbers you see are the performance today. They make this much money by doing these campaigns. This is the net impact on the bottom line of the company. And so we decided that in order to compute incrementality, what we're going to do is do a controlled experiment, the single greatest thing God ever invented after human beings. And the cool thing is we picked various parts of the customer base, and to a part of the customer base, we only sell catalogs. We did not send them the email campaigns. And this allowed us to measure what is the impact on revenue, not that bad, right? And helped us understand the impact on the outcome of the company. That's surprising, right? And then the other batch, we only sent email. And so in this case, you can see that there was a huge impact on revenue if they did not get a catalog. And you notice that this was a big surprise. That the bottom line of the company actually moved by a lot less than you might have anticipated. And remember, catalog requires killing trees, right? And then I said, why don't we also then go in and measure the value of not doing marketing at all? What if we fired everybody in this room? Would the company go bankrupt? And so we ran one version of the experiment where we did no catalogs and no email. Astonishingly, the company did not die. And the great thing is, if as a company, this allows you to really, really understand what is the marginal incrementality they can get from every single channel. Now, this is unsustainable. If this company has been around for a very long time, and if you fire everybody, at some point you're going to go down the toilet. But if you want to fire them for 3 months and hire them back again, you still might actually be around. Right? And this is fabulous, right? It allows you to understand how to make very smart choices by embracing experimentation. And the last example is to understand our really, really hard questions to answer. So Vodafone sells a lot of cell phones, and it does a lot of advertising, but can we actually get people through Google advertising to go to Vodafone's shops and buy a phone? And it's a very hard thing to measure any other way except if you do a controlled experiment. And in this case, what we ended up doing is in the magnificent United Kingdom, picked you're missing the legend. We picked a bunch of areas in the UK that were our control, where we would change nothing. All the TV, billboards, underwears, everything would happen exactly as it was before. And then we picked areas, like-type areas in the UK, where we would run an experiment, where we would saturate those areas with online marketing, spend as much money as we could on the cell phones and the terms, et cetera, So people in those areas, when they went and typed these terms, either generic or category terms, would see an ad. You don't see it here, it's in the second line, would see an ad for Vodafone. And so what happens when you run this controlled experiment is that it really, really allows you to understand what is the value that digital brings to your offline existence. So in this case, it actually turns out that there was I'm using the first line, there was an additional lift in terms of the impact on the business. There was a 400% positive return on advertising investment, which means that for every dollar that Vodafone spent on Google search, they received $4.26 in sales in the offline world. Because we had a test market, we had a control market, we were able to measure the difference in success. We had 27,000 new customers to Vodafone Store during this time. And here is the most astonishing fact to me. That campaign drove a lot of conversions online. It was an online campaign. But for every conversion it drove online, it drove 1.75 conversions in the store itself. It is impossible for you to measure this success any other way unless you embrace this idea of experimentation. And the thing that it takes is, it doesn't take a lot of people, right? You might think a lot of people are required. Here is the entire team that ran the Barack Obama campaign, analytics and experimentation. It's 4 guys who like Perrier, right? And peanuts. And the interesting thing is you might think, well, these guys are not playing with serious money. Let me dispel that myth. Notice the number at the bottom. That is the amount of money they were playing with in a 9-month period. If this grew up, this is serious money. A lot more probably than is involved in the work that you do. And then the thing that you need in order to measure success is not these, I would call them reporting monkeys. but squirrels. But you need these guys at the right. I call them analysis ninjas who have 3 interesting skills. You need people who understand the scientific method, design of experiments, and statistical analysis. I call them ninjas. And you've got to figure out how and where to find these people. And most of the time, you will find these people in the offline world. If you do direct marketing of any sort at all, you will find these people who have these skills. Grab them, make love to them if you have to, and get them into your team, because they will change your life, I guarantee it. And they will change the trajectory of your company, right? Number 2 is you have to have this experimentation is an always-on mental model, right? If you do discrete experimentation, you will never get as much success as possible. And the best practice that we've established is that 10% of your marketing budget at any given time should be spent on experimentation. Advertising, experiences, crazy stuff, controlled experiments, everything. If 10% of your marketing budget in a world that is changing by tremendous amounts every single freaking day, you will never, ever get ahead of the curve. 10%. It's the price of entry for the chance to possibly be great on the web. And then here's the last one, right? The last one is I wrote this blog. I did a keynote in Canada a while back, and I wrote this. I'll let you read it. Oh, God damn it. Okay, I will read it to you. The web has been around forever, and yet it is not in the blood of the executives who staff the top echelons of companies. Make no mistake, they're smart, they're successful, they want to do better. But the web is such a paradigm shift that if it is not in your blood, it is very difficult to imagine its power and how to use it for good. How do you demand innovation and creativity and radical rethink if you cannot even imagine it? The single biggest problem for your company's success on the web is you, right? Is that if you cannot understand the power and the impact that this medium can have on your company, it is impossible that you will ever imagine what it can bring to you. So you've got to rewire your brains. It's the number one thing that you can do. So when you go back, demand failing faster. Create companies with people who embrace failing faster, because you will revolutionize your existence. I want to share with you this model that I created last year as a way of understanding what we do today and how to make great choices. And at the moment, our lives are dominated by many different kinds of things we have to do. And these are just some of the acquisition channels that we might be using. Then we have many teams who are involved in the process who do the offline work, and there are teams who do the online work. And there is so much to do that it is really hard to figure out where to focus. Not only do we have a lot of things to do, but a lot of these things are owned by different people who are all going in many different directions. If that was not worse enough, we have the problem, the immense, corrosive, difficult, impossible to deal with problem, that all of these things are randomly owned by the company itself, outsourced to random people, and other things that nobody owns or knows what the hell is happening. And they're very hard walls between these areas. And so it is very hard for companies to get a single view of everything they're doing and if they're delivering value in terms of the bottom line impact of the company. And especially for CEOs and CMOs, it is extremely important to understand if all of this work that we do is leading to a coherent outcome for the company. Most of the time, everything is done in silos, with walls, and nobody knows what the hell they're doing. So this single view of everything we do and the success is missing in companies. And so I created this model I call the clear line of sight model. And the way it works is really simple. This is a slide from MBA school, and it says the only thing that matters in life is ROI. It's not hard to understand. ROI is a function of income and assets. Mercifully, nobody in marketing's history has been responsible for assets. Thank God for that. People are a pain. Buildings are a pain. So let's not be responsible for that, right? Income is a function of margins and volumes. Margin is a function of price and cost. Get little children in China to make iPods for $3 and send them in London for $500. Right? Hallelujah. The thing that is missing often from our thinking, is not the price and cost. We are almost always missing this picture, that volume is a function of share and size. How much of your market do you have today, and what have you done to grow it? And I said, this is fantastic. So I've created this model that says that the only metrics we should ever be interested in measuring are the ones that tell us what are the things we're doing that tell us if we're moving the dial on share of the market that we own today, the cost, the price, and the market size. Because if we do these 4 things, these 2 will happen, and magic comes out at the other end. And it turns out a lot of people feel this is very hard to do. And so I said, I'm going to create a structured way to attack this problem. And the first thing to think about is a thing that we almost never do because of the problem I shared with you a few minutes ago, this corrosive problem of teams and organizations and in-house and outsourced and kill me now problems, right? And so I said, let's what we'll do is we'll say the thing that is most important for any company is to deliver net income. And for that, the 4 things that are important are still the same: price, cost, share, size. Still the same. And the thing you have to do today when you go back to your offices is say, what is it that we're doing as a company in terms of marketing that is delivering against price? What are we doing for cost? What are we doing for size? What are we doing for share? And when you do, if you're doing everything, you'll have your spreadsheet filled out like this, right? You'll understand exactly what you're doing. And the great thing is, if you can fill out this column, I can do this in my sleep. These are the metrics you use to measure success of the things that you do. And the magnificent thing is, you connect the thing that pays your salary to the thing you actually do, to knowing if it is working or not. Rather than what we do today. What we do today is we'll say, those are the metrics, let's report them. Tons of orgasms that we have pulling this data out of Google Analytics or Omniture. Nobody gives a crap. You know why nobody gives a crap? It has no context. Even if they're the perfect metrics, it has 0 context. So the thing that I want you to do when you go back is I'll email you this thing, right? Send me an email. It's an empty spreadsheet. And what I want you to do is sit down in your company and write down the things that your company is doing to move these 4 levers: price, cost, share, size. And the first time you fill out the spreadsheet, I guarantee it's not going to look like this. It will most likely look like this. There will be areas where you will be over-leveraged, that those are all filled out. You cannot see, trust me. There are things that you are doing nothing, and there are things you're doing random stuff you have no idea how to measure. And you will be ashamed and embarrassed, likely call your mother. And it is okay. Because for the first time in your life, you as a CMO, you as the director of a company, for the first time on a single page, have some idea as to what the hell you're doing and where your weak areas are. And when you find this, then go back to Facebook, then go back to Google and Baidu and Yandex and any other company on the planet and say, I'm really weak in the size area. What can you do for me? Rather than Facebook coming to you and say, we have a widget thingy, add +1 -0, give us $10 million. And when they say that, you say, what are you going to do for me? Right? Here are my weak areas. What can your new monkey do? And if the monkey cannot deliver against one of these 4 things, fuck! And so the power shifts away from companies who have stuff to offer to you. Because you understand what your strengths and weaknesses are. You send a spreadsheet to Shubha and say, here are my weak areas. What can YouTube do for me? What can Android do for me? What do you have that will really change the paradigm? So my line of sight doesn't look like this. It looks like that. Right? Completely changes the way you think, right? And you go away from being scared to having a cohesive, focused strategy that helps you understand why you exist, what are you doing, and how are you delivering net income to your company. Right? You can tie marketing to the ultimate goal that the CFO of the company loves, net income. Right? So when you go back to your office, fill this model out. I guarantee it will give you a new insight into what you're doing, how you're doing it, and it will force you to change your course and make the kind of choices that in the long run will add a lot of value to your company. Right? So the bottom line, 3 things. Super awesomeness, this is the part you missed. Experimentation, line of sight. Thank you.